On November 19, 2023, Vanilla Opinions responded to Bass House with Ben Shapiro PFP. Bass House responded, "The fact that you don't see it satirical is hilarious." And Smiling Imp Emoji replied, "You literally talk like him, dog. He's taking over your ass like the symbiote." This is the Museum of Twitter, the show we talk about the most important tweets in the history of Twitter.com. I've been reluctant to do this conversation for a little bit because a pretty frequent comment I get is that if people are being charitable, sound like the good version of Ben Shapiro. And the reason why I don't like getting that comment is because, unlike some insults that I might get where I'm like, that's just ridiculous, the thing about that comment is, I absolutely hear it myself too. Like, I know that my pretty nasally way of speaking, along with the speech patterns that I developed as a middle schooler who was a know-it-all, like, I know that that's also how Ben Shapiro speaks. And so I didn't want to do this conversation because it just makes people think about me and Ben Shapiro in the same sentence, and I really don't feel like doing that. But I had to do it because it's a great conversation. Unfortunately, we do not have the full context of this exchange. The accounts of all three people involved in this exchange either don't exist anymore or are private, but suffice it to say, they were having some discussion in which Bass House EU was sounding like Ben Shapiro. And Bass House had a take that Vanilla Opinions thought was stupid, and Vanilla Opinions wanted to discredit it by saying Ben Shapiro PFP. And Bass House responded, no. The fact that you don't see it satirical is hilarious. Now, lots of people who have reacted to this exchange when it comes up as a screenshot have given Bass House way more grace than I think he deserves. They've said things like, when you do something satirical for too long, it eventually stops being satire, or if you pretend to be something for too long, you eventually just become it. I don't think that that's what's going on here at all. I think that Bass House is just a dumb person who doesn't know what satirical means. I say that because I've been on the internet for a long time, and it's never a bad bet to assume that someone just doesn't know what a word that's more than two syllables means. But the iconic thing here is what Smiling Imp Emoji says. You literally talk like him, dog. He's taking over your ass like the symbiote. While symbiotes occur in nature, the use of the word the here leads me to believe, and I think everyone to believe, that he is referencing the symbiote from Spider-Man comics, specifically the symbiote that comes to Earth and makes the Spider-Man suit black and infects Venom, etc., which led Tyler but Simon to say, let's say, hypothetically, we were Venom. See, I'm putting on a voice when I'm doing like Ben Shapiro lines, which is like trying too hard, because I just don't really need to put on that much of a voice, let's be honest. And another fake Ben Shapiro line that someone once responded to this exchange with was Goff the Burr, who said, let's say, hypothetically, Ben Shapiro was a symbiote. I highly doubt it would have a negative effect upon the populace. This Bass House guy is definitely not the only person for whom Ben Shapiro has taken over their ass like the symbiote. If you look at any political argument, particularly on Twitter now that it's a cesspool, there are just loads and loads of people who take on Ben Shapiro's affect. Honestly, in 2026, if they're taking on Ben Shapiro's affect, like, that's more ideal than the other people's affects they might be taking on. Like, half the people on Twitter at this point talk like Dick Fuentes. But the major contribution of this exchange, beyond it just being a funny exchange, is the idea of someone or something taking over your ass like the symbiote. Once again, Smiling Imp Emoji did not invent the idea of a symbiote taking someone over. It's both in nature and in Spider-Man. But in terms of like this phrasing of it and used in this context, I think that we can definitely credit them with it. Some examples of people using it recently are Ravina saying, Zara Larson taking me over like the MF symbiote, bro. Why was I shaking my ass at Midnight Sun? In reference to the film Marty Supreme, Hero 1000 Faces said, I can feel him taking over my personality like the f***ing Venom symbiote. Amy said, just got out of the gym and on my way home I caught myself thinking, God, I love going to the gym. Kevin is taking over my ass like the symbiote. Don't know who Kevin is, but evidently he's taking over ass like the symbiote. And while I think it's fun for people to acknowledge that something is taking over their ass like the symbiote, I think it's always funnier when it's used as like an insult to someone, or as a description of someone. Like just this weekend when Tony Romo accidentally called Josh Allen Patrick Mahomes, Dom Italiano said, Mahomes symbiote is taking over Romo's body, man. When B said, aspartame, James said, Dr. Pepper taking over your brain like the symbiote, which this is honestly ridiculous. Like, if James said Diet Dr. Pepper, fine, but regular Dr. Pepper has high fructose corn syrup in it. It's not aspartame. Let's be accurate here. When Denver Nuggets player Christian Brown showed up to camp with a shaved head and Jay said, he's still cute, Lev said, Jokic taking over his ass like the symbiote OMFG. One that actually made me laugh out loud was this exchange where Quinn said, if you add GCX, stay away from me. Ballout said, can we take a fire pick twin? And Quinn typoed and said, I need to maintain my mysterious evil aura. I can't risk being with people. Acknowledging the typo, Frog Forest said, Mario is taking over your ass like the symbiote, bro. And as I always find whenever I look at any Twitter trend, this comes up in conversations about anime and manga. Someone edited the exchange to be about Bungo Stray Dogs, where it's Asushi saying, Dazai Osamu PFP. Akutagawa said, the fact you don't see it satirical is hilarious. And Atsushi says, you really talk like him, dog. He's taking over your ass like the symbiote. Don't know how accurate that is, but I assume it probably probably is. And one that was an actual discussion about anime was about Jujutsu Kaisen, where Kaio said, Nayo PFP talking about Maki being unjustified, it's taking over your ass, like the Venom symbiote bro. I apologize if I mispronounced any of those characters. And I'm honestly not surprised that this comes up a lot in discussions about anime and manga. There are a lot more exchanges like this that I didn't include just because I didn't know the context of them. And it would eventually get annoying for me to be like, I think this is referencing this anime, but I think it really makes sense because of all the types of people or things that people make their profile photos on Twitter that are not of themselves, it's usually anime characters. And so it's not that out of the ordinary to see someone with an anime profile photo and to say that that character is taking over their ass like the symbiote. A real world example that I think is definitely true is that Katie, referring to Governor Gavin Newsom's press office account, which for the longest time, and I think still does, was tweeting in the voice of Trump's Truth Social posts. Katie said, this account is becoming the Ben Shapiro, he's taking over you like the symbiote tweet. And I think that multiple people have realized, and this person put into words with the symbiote thing, was with the clip of Glenn Howerton talking on the Always Sunny podcast. Genuinely mentally ill Worm said, help, Dennis is taking over Glenn's ass like the symbiote. Lots and lots of famous tweet exchanges and lots of famous Twitter phrases are just rephrasing a concept that has existed for as long as people have been speaking. The idea of pretending to be a character or a person and then that eventually infecting your personality and how you are, that is not a new concept here. But the fact that Smiling Imp Emoji synthesized it into being about the symbiote from Spider-Man, and the fact that the original dunk was about someone with a Ben Shapiro profile photo, which is the lamest profile photo you can have, I think that made this famous. And in some situations, it's not that bad. We've all been influenced by characters or by people that we're a big fan of that we support a lot. I'm sure it's happened to you recently. And I hope that at least one viewer of mine is giving a presentation at work or in school, and they have to start off the presentation with a date. And I hope that they find themselves saying it in the cadence of on November 19th, 1863, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address. And I hope that after they say it in that cadence, they think to themselves, damn, Jay Christie's taking over my ass like the symbiote. Follow me for a new tweet every day, and if you'd like the show, please go to patreon.com/museum with Twitter. We get to vote and write cover on Subscriber Sundays, and you get a weekly bonus episode called the Museum of Not Twitter. This last week, I just did the human pet guy. You want to hear that.